Stephen, is Dudley right about Ben Simmons?
Truth sound like hate to people who hate the truth.
Oh, truth.
Man, say that again.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Truth sound like hate to people who hate the truth.
Wow.
I mean, it's just the truth. He's not a good half-court player. As you see last game, he had success by getting the ball up the hoop, pushing it, and getting quick baskets. Half-court game is not his game. He can't shoot. He won't even shoot it. Jared Dudley, he's dead on, and I think that's the way they're going to approach guarding him. The same way. We know he's not going to shoot. We're going to slow him down when he get the rebound and make him play him half-court because that's the reason they won last game.
Right. Every player has weaknesses in his game, and it's been just talked about as far as Ben Simmons and his inability to shoot. My biggest problem with Ben Simmons is not his inability to shoot, because even if you can't shoot, you shouldn't put yourself in a position where they can exploit your weaknesses. So if you're going to be one-dimensional, be the best one-dimensional player. So every time the ball went off the bucket, I would be trying to get in transition. Every time I tried to set up the offense the way they did, I would try to get a running start compared to a conventional guard setting up, calling the play, allowing everyone. I would move back a little bit so I can use my size and speed and try to get in the air over people. So my biggest thing with Ben Simmons is he doesn't know his game well enough that he plays it all the time. People force him to play their way. They force him. Jared Dudley is right. They force him to play in a half-court game. Now, in and up and down, if he was on the Showtime Lakers, he would be sensational because they were up and down the court, pace, 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 pace. That's what Magic Johnson was best until he developed that shot. Now, Magic Johnson was a better player at a younger age, but that pace helped him out. My biggest problem with Ben Simmons is not that he can't shoot. Master what you can do. Yes, Dudley is right. He needs to get up and down more because he's almost unstoppable in the break, just like Giannis. You see the way Giannis is doing? Ben Simmons needs to be able to match a lot of what Giannis is doing until he develops that 15-foot jump shot.
And I would argue that is when he's on the court, that's the way they play. They are overall this year 8th in the league in pace. They're even faster when he's on the court as opposed to on the bench. And Jared Dudley's half right here because we're only talking about the offensive end now. Because nobody says Ben Simmons in half-court defense is not an elite player. Like, we know he is an elite defensive player for his position. We know he's an A-plus player in transition. And this actually, to me, is the perfect microcosm for why I get so frustrated with the Ben Simmons hyper-critiques. So he's a very good defensive player. He's an A-plus player in transition. Let's call him a C- player in half-court offense, right? Dudley called him average. So that would be a C. You want to call him a D player, whatever you want to call him, fine. That averages out to a B-plus basketball player. That averages out to an all-star. Averages out to a guy that gave you 18, 9, and 8
You can still be an all-star and people be disappointed. When you are the first pick in the draft, life is about expectations.
But so this is, yes.
Is that right or not?
Of course, but do we expect guys to be their fully developed player in their second year in the league, or second year in the playing, third year in the league?
No, but we expect to see an arc. We expect to see someone go up. We talked about how all off season, at least he'd get better. His shooting didn't get any better.
Okay, let's be honest. Were you happy with Ben Simmons, what he did in his shooting department last year? Oh, okay.
No, but
that's all we're talking about now.
But you're in the NBA. You should be able to even have a confidence to take a shot.
Take a shot.
Like, your man is sitting way in the paint. You're making your
Jack, how many years? Terrible. Jack, how many years you been retired?
5.
Okay. In the offseason, Jack, you work out hard. How many shots are you getting up a day right now?
Well, a day, probably close to 100.
Right. Agreed, but when you say
at 41,
understood, and this is why you're the Big Three leading scorer 2 years.
But the point is, though, you're in the NBA, you're an all-star. How can you not shoot a jump shot? That's my thing.
But so here's the thing, because see, you just said it. But that's what we're talking about. We're only talking about it because we're talking about it. This is the one player in the league, he and Russ, in my mind, that we spend such a disproportionate amount of time talking about what they can't do. Nobody denies what he's great at. So we just say, okay, he's great at it, forget it, it's not interesting. Let's talk about, yes, should he have gotten better at shooting?
We're talking about getting ready for game number 3. What do you want to talk about with him?
We could phrase the exact same conversation of, can the Nets prevent Ben Simmons from dominating the game the way
they did it in game 1.
But it would still be based off Jared's comment, Dudley's comments. He'd been like, hey, we got to slow him down. We got to put him in a half court. Then our comments would be, can they do that?
And if teams can't.
And it would go back to exactly what we're talking about. Is he going to ever be able to shoot?
If he's never able to shoot, then he will never reach his full potential.
I don't know. I know him on TV now, and I know he can't shoot now.
Right, but
because he might be able to shoot one time, but I might not be on TV.
That's fine, but being on TV now, the last game he played in was maybe
sensational.
Absolutely.
Right.
And go ahead.
Was it because of him, or was it because the other guys around him finally started to shoot?
No, it was because of him.
No.
He was the best player on the court. He was the guy that initiated everything. He was the difference maker. He was the one who adjusted his awful approach in game 1 to a great approach in game 2.
Nick, it's. I think there's tremendous irony to the two people that you mentioned. Both of them you like. Russ, you think he gets criticized too much. He ain't had no playoff success after averaging a triple-double, because in professional sports, you know what they pick out? He's not in college no more. They pick out the things that you can't do. If you're a good player, they pick out the things that you can't do. If you're a great player, they pick out the things that you haven't done or you can't do. That's what professional sports is about. It's not always about potential. It's about what do you do on a daily basis.
And I know a lot of great regular season players. What separates them is when they do it in the playoffs. At the same time, I got to reiterate this. How can you be in the NBA? How can you be an all-star and cannot shoot? That's the biggest problem.
Because you must be amazing at everything else.
No, it's not. It's not about being amazing. It's about having enough confidence to attempt a shot. You're not even trying. Like, you can at least try. That's my whole problem. Like, you're not even trying. At least give yourself a chance.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.